Hi, I'm Charles Brothers from Tamaki Group Limited in New Zealand. I'm the Medical Applications Director for Tamaki Group, looking after or overseeing the compliance and fit-for-purpose use of our product internationally within all jurisdictions. It's my role to ensure that all of our product meets the jurisdictional requirements, and it's obvious that in 2020, COVID-19 and its unprecedented impact within the world has also impacted us in the way that we provide our products. Originally, our PPE would be supplied to industry and medical practitioners, but it's obviously clear that as time has moved forward in 2020, that the public are now using PPE. It's quite important to understand that there is a clear definition between industry, medical practitioners and the public use. And that use stems really from the application of how the PPE is used. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about medical procedure masks, surgical masks with tiebacks, or our surgical masks with visors and air loops, or our respirators. All of them require a specific instruction for use, and those instructions for use have to be adhered to ensure that you achieve the efficacy of performance for that piece of equipment. It doesn't matter how good your PPE gear is. If you do not don it correctly, you will not be getting the effective use of that PPE gear. And then more importantly, once you have completed the tasks and move out of the danger areas, if you do take that PPE gear off, if you aren't doing that correctly, then you defeat the whole purpose of using the PPE gear. And I'll give you a quick example of that. And we see this all the time at the moment. Well, we do in New Zealand, and I'm sure you'll see it around the world. These dangling from rear vision mirrors of cars, where individuals are using them and then coming back into the car, hanging them up and using them again. That's not an issue per se. The issue is how you put it on and take it off. So when we put a mask on, we put it, fit it correctly, and here's your procedure mask. Brilliant. You use it. You take it off, boom, and it should go into the bin. If you reuse it, this is what normally happens. Someone goes in and grabs it. Immediately, the inside of that mask is contaminated. Wherever that hand has been is now imprinted on that mask. And now you're going to put it against your face. So if you've been in an environment where COVID could be, you could be putting COVID on the inside of your mask. That is not the issue of the mask, that is the issue of the user. These are the small things that we must determine. And the users industrially and within the medical profession understand this. They understand the following of the COVID regulations and requirements. They understand how the CDC and the WHO have determined the use of PPE gear and also how to don and doof that gear. What I'm going to do is go through a number of questions that have been asked from around the world, from some of our distributors and customers, and hopefully answer them so that it gives you a better understanding of how COVID impacts us in reality, outside of all of the technical information, the actual relevant information that you can use on a day-to-day basis, and the understanding of why we do certain things. They aren't just there for, by heaven's sake, they're there for reasons. So let's start. Our next question comes from Andrew. Andrew, why can't I use the same mask every time? It looks clean. That's a good question, Andrew. Our fabric masks, we use a white interior purely because we know that as it gets grubby, it needs to be cleaned. And it gives you an indication. Having said that, we can't see COVID-19. As a matter of fact, if we have a look at what COVID-19 is and how it exists in our environment, the majority of the time, COVID-19 is microscopic and beyond the physical vision of a human being. So we see hairs, because there's 70 microns, 70. We can see down to approximately 40 microns. That is our scope of vision that the average human being has. COVID-19 is 0.1 of a micron. So if we were looking for COVID-19, you wouldn't see it. When someone sneezes, they sneeze out at about 160 kilometers an hour, about 100 miles an hour, and they can sneeze up to 23 to 30 feet, which is over 7 meters. Now, you can see some of those droplets, and by definition, they are over 40 microns. But COVID-19 will travel in droplets or aerosols between 5 and 10 microns, which means by definition, they are invisible to the naked eye. So you could walk through a cloud of aerosols, which you can't even see. So when you look at a mask and determine what is clean and what is not, you need to understand that you cannot see the virus, nor can you see the droplets. Now that brings me on to the next part of how we use masks, because we will use a mask like this mask. This is a procedure mask. We'll put it on, we'll put it in place, we'll use it, we're going to do what we need to do, and then we'll hop back in our car and we'll stick it on the rear vision mirror. And I see this a lot. Now the individual will come back to wherever they are. Maybe they'll go home, they won't need a mask, they'll hop back in the car, they'll drive to the next spot, they'll put their hand in and they'll touch the inside of it and immediately contaminate it with whatever they have on their hand. Then they'll go, put it on and go do it again. Then they'll come back, hand sanitize, put it there, put it back in their car, and the process will continue on. And they may go to 2 or 3 different spots every single time, putting the mask on, touching the inside. Whatever you touch on the inside is now on the inside, which you'll inhale. So understanding that these are single-use items, and understanding that even with reusable, washing those items is not about understanding whether you can see something or not. It's understanding as into what you or how you've impacted that PPE and how you should be using it going forward. We have our PPE, and I'll bring you one of our boxes here. So when we have our box of PPE, this is one of our samples. You open it, and you should be able to take one mask out at a time without contaminating the next, right? Really simple stuff, really simple stuff. And the reason why we do that is because we can't contaminate the inside of the next mask or touch the next mask, because that cross contact means that whatever we touched, the next person's going to touch, and so on and so on and so on. And that's the same. I suppose I understand that it's not you touching, then somebody else touching the mask. You're using it continuously. But what you need to understand is that you are touching and are being impacted by the environment. And as you use that mask, regardless of whether it looks clean or not, it may not be. So you must err to the side of caution and ensure that however that mask is being used or what it looks like, once it's past its use by, you put it away. So to understand that single-use masks, once they become contaminated, i.e. they become moist, or there's cross-touching or anything along those lines, they must be disposed of, a new one brought in.